this is Tasia from Chiron Divine Readings, and welcome to this weekend's reading. So, with everything that has happened this past week, I have decided to just dub this week as Spirit Week because there are just so many positive things happening, so many different programs that I was able to take advantage of this past week that I felt were, right on time, right? You know how Spirit works. We're just like having these opportunities taking place. So first and foremost, we had the full moon in Capricorn in the middle of the week, which was pretty awesome. Some really, really good energy there. The day before I was supposed to do a reading, and for some reason, my technology wouldn't allow me to do so. So I had to do a different kind of reading. But my plan was to go live, and I couldn't go live on YouTube, and I couldn't go live on Instagram. And so everything happens for a reason, right? Either way, I was still able to get a reading out there, so hopefully you were able to catch it. But besides the full moon, there were a couple of different workshops and things happening. For example, Kyle Gray, if you're familiar with his work, he has like a lot of different oracle decks. He also has several books. I think his newest book is Raise Your Vibration that he republished. That's rewritten. I didn't read the previous one, but I'm definitely interested in reading the new one that just came out. But he had a Raise Your Vibration challenge this week that was completely free. All you had to do was download the Empower You app by Hay House. And each day he had like a video session where he would give us some information and take our questions, which was really cool. And it was all live. Like I submitted a question and he answered the question for me. So that was pretty cool. So that happened the entire week, right? And then there is this woman who I follow on Instagram. I believe her Instagram page is The Sacred Hustle. Her name is Erin, and she's awesome. Like I love her material. I love just all the stuff that she puts out there. And she had a money manifestation boot camp because her background is in finances. And so she wanted to sort of combine her two lives of the spiritual side of things with manifesting, but also her other side of being a money manager, and did this really great 3-day workshop that was, again, awesome. And I feel like I got a lot out of that. And then I also participated in a group ascension clearing. And so for some of you, you may be familiar with SRT, which stands for Spiritual Response Therapy, or some people call it Spiritual Response Technique. And it's essentially someone who connects with your Akashic records, and they do clearings and things like that with old patterns and blocks and things of that nature. If you have never done that before, I would highly recommend it. It's very interesting to go through. Like I did a collective one this time, but I've also done individual ones. And so if anyone is interested, I will put a link for the 2 people that I've worked with in the description box. Because again, it's just a very interesting process. Like I did my first like individual one about this time. No, it was like early March last year. And it was just cool to see like how many lives I've had on this planet. What were some of the blocks that I had to work through? What are some of the lessons that I need to go through as it relates to this life? So very, very interesting experience. But this was my first time doing a collective one. And so it was cool to sort of see like how other people were responding to it. And it was all done virtually, which added another layer of like interest because we're all sort of communicating via chat. But either way, it was a wonderful experience. I definitely felt lighter. I like slept so well that night. And it was the day before the full moon. And so it was like with all of the clearing that took place, with the money manifestation workshop I did, and then the Raise Your Vibration challenge that I did it just finished yesterday. I just felt like it was just so many spiritual related things happening that I've just decided to call the Spirit Week. So that's why this is Spirit Week. And so with that within that same theme, I've decided to do a spiritual reading, because why not, right? Let's see where we are in terms of our spiritual growth, our spiritual connection. Just get a sense for where things are and where we are in this journey as a collective. And obviously, if certain things will resonate, certain things may not resonate, and so take the things that do, leave the things that don't. For some people, the entire reading relates to them. For other people, it could just be a small message here or there. So please keep that in mind. But I'm just going to do one reading, and I'm going to do a full reading. So I have many decks, as you can see here, that I will be pulling from as it relates to our spiritual journey. Okay? And so the deck that I have right now is the Sacred Travelers deck, and this is one of my favorite decks to use as it relates to the spiritual journey. So let's see what messages we have thus far. Hope you're having a lovely weekend. Impasse. Reflect and redirect your energy. What was I saying before about like clearing some blockages? Perhaps that's still a theme for some of us. All right, what else wants to come up? And even with the full moon, I also use that as an opportunity to release some things that were holding me back, or that I felt were holding me back. And, just decided to take advantage of all of the energies, right? And so again, definitely feel lighter, feel like I have a good idea, a good plan going forward, and just excited to see where things go without putting any major pressure on myself. Navigating by the stars, follow your bliss. See, what was I just saying? Just learning to flow with it. And one of the things I do want to point out with this card is if you can see, the moon is covered, and so it's sort of like you're traveling by moonlight, like it's dark. And so for some of us, it may feel like we can't see where we're going, but we know that we have to keep going to find our bliss, or just continue to follow our happiness, and that will lead us to wherever we're supposed to be. And so I want to see what this third card is and sort of put it all together. But so far I'm getting that some of us may be at an impasse because we're putting our energy into the wrong things. We're not putting our energy into the things that we enjoy doing, and perhaps that's what Spirit is recommending for us right now. So let's see, may I have one more card, please? Okay, Unknown Territory. It's the card that jumped out here. All right, so you are exactly where you need to be. So what was I just saying? We may not necessarily be able to see where we're going, but Spirit is like, look, we're on the right track. All we have to do is follow our bliss, follow the things that bring us joy, follow the things that make us happy. But in order to do so, we have to redirect our energy and really take an assessment of what does make me happy? What can I do to bring more joy into my life? What are the things that I actually enjoy doing that will help me? And it's funny because on my other YouTube page, which is Vani Coaching and Consulting, that's my coaching consulting business, I have a series program that I created a few months ago called 22 Happier You. And I'm in the process of sort of doing some revamping of that program, and it focuses on happiness and creating the right habits that can help us to be happier on a more day-to-day basis, right? Because when we're happier, we're just in a better state of mind, we're healthier, we can have better relationships. There are so many things related to happiness, so many benefits to being happy that we don't necessarily realize or we lose sight of because life can get in the way. And one of the things that I learned in researching for that coaching program is that, you know, there are so many like physical benefits to being happy. Like, yes, getting enough sleep is good, but, or doing physical exercise is good, but like when you make the conscious choice to be happy and to do things that make you happy, like that really does a lot for your body. And obviously it does a lot for your soul and for your mental health and your emotional health. And so this idea of following your bliss makes me think about that program, because again, I'm in the process of revamping it, but also just sort of a reminder of like, what are the day-to-day things that we should be doing or that we can be doing that will help us to be happy or to help us find our sense of bliss. So I definitely think that's something that, if you're watching this reading, something for you to consider. Like, what are the habits that you have that contribute to your happiness? And if you're unsure, if you want to change those habits, feel free to reach out to me, and I'm happy to share more information about my coaching program. Okay? All right. So with that said, let's see where we are. But yeah, definitely getting this feeling of like, even if we don't know where we're going, even if we can't see it, just keep taking that first step forward, and then that next step, and then that next step. That's what I'm getting from all of this. And it's going to be different. It's going to take us in a direction that we are just unfamiliar with. And I feel that part of what Spirit is doing is getting us in that state of trust, right? Trusting that everything is going to work out for us, trusting that Spirit knows what we need and what we want, and will give us what we need for our highest and greatest good. And so that just may take us to places that we're unfamiliar with, and that's okay. So that was like one of the lessons I've been working on learning in the past few months, just sort of trusting that it's going to all be all right. All right, so the first card that jumped out is the Sun card. So what I'm getting is like being our most authentic self, being in this state of like just shining, showing people who we are, showing people what we're about. And again, that whole follow your bliss, right? Because the Sun card, it's like happiness and joy and excitement. It's like that fifth house energy of like fun and like childlike fun, and there's something else related to the fifth house that I'm forgetting, but nonetheless, you get what I'm saying, right? It's that Leo energy of just being like out in the open. All right, so interesting. So we're represented here as the Hierophant. So whenever I see this card, I sort of see it as like this elevation, right? We're in this process of elevating, or of going forward, and we're learning along the way so that we can use those teachings to help others, right? And so, you know, thinking back to what I shared just a minute ago about the research I was doing on happiness, it's like, if I didn't do that research, how could I have been able to talk about it here, right? And so taking the things that we know, taking the things that we're familiar with, and sharing those with others, and how doing so is helping to elevate us as well. All right, so us, the situation, I literally just said this, right? Take a leap of faith. Like, you really can't make this up. The opportunity here, King of Wands, taking some really inspired action. And again, we have some more Leo energy if you look at the lion in the background. Yes. Okay. What's our challenge? Got to let go of some detachments. And this is a lot of major arcana. So this is a very big deal. And like I said before, like this past week, I felt like was a big deal. And so this reading is definitely reminiscent of that. But nonetheless, there are some attachments that are sort of getting in our way. That's creating this challenge for us. What the universe is trying to tell us. We may need to work together, work with the universe, work with spirit, work with God, whomever you choose to acknowledge as a higher power, and potentially work with other people to create the life that we want, the life that we're trying to work towards, right? And then outcome, we got the Queen of Wands, the Knight of Wands, and the Four of Pentacles. Interesting. All right, so with this wand energy, I see like us taking some really great fun action, taking action on things that really bring us a lot of joy, that make us happy, that like sparks that sense of bliss, right? And doing so in a way that really pushes us forward, because with the Knight of Wands, like that's, you know, some really fast forward movement, and it's like once we're able to do so, then we'll be in a much better position to collect the things that we really need for us to sustain our lives, right? Like looking at this, it's like she has all of the elements in her purse, the 4 elements, right? And so she's like gaining this new wisdom, gaining this new opportunity as a result of following her passion. All right, interesting. What's the thing that we're not seeing? So let's look under the deck. So we have the 4 of Cups, so another 4 card, the 10 of Wands. All right, one more, and the High Priestess. Okay. So in terms of what we're not seeing right now is that, you know, some of us may be in this feeling of lack, like we're not showing enough appreciation or gratitude for the things that we do have. And it's like we're looking at what we don't have, and the universe is over here trying to show us like, look, there is something out there. You're just choosing to only see it from this perspective of not having. And so spirit is like, once you pay attention to that, no. And spirit is like, you need to let that go. You need to walk away from that mindset and really follow your intuition. Don't look at the material as the only type of abundance that you have. Don't look at the material as the only thing that will serve you right now. There are so many other things that will be helpful to you. But if you solely focus on like the material side of things, then you're going to stay in this energy of lack. And so spirit is saying, you know, what you may not be seeing right now is that you need to really let this go so that you can get into that state of trust, and so that spirit can really help with communicating with you, be able to share the information that's necessary for you to move forward. Like if you're feeling like you're in this unknown territory, it's like once we're able to walk away from certain mindsets, then we'll be in a much better position to navigate the stars, right? To get the information that we need to go forward. But spirit is sort of waiting for us to make that first step, and I totally understand it. So just so that you understand like the significance of this, there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 major arcana cards. That's a big deal. So if you're watching this reading, take heed. Simple as that. Let me get some water here. But let me get some clarity on this Devil card. What are the attachments that we need to let go of that's sort of getting in our way? One of the things that I think is interesting in this deck in particular is for the Devil card, it's someone pulling the strings, right? It's almost like they're a puppet, and it's like, what are the things that are pulling our strings that are keeping us in this mindset? Is it, you know, certain people? Is it debt collectors? Is it or is it just in our own minds? Either way, there's something that we need to let go of. So let's see what it is. because sometimes our actions can be directed by the external world. And so getting a sense for what those things are can help us so that we can figure out a way to tune them out and focus on what we need to focus on, which is our joy. All right. All right, so what are we attached to? Two of Wands, Temperance, Page of Wands. Get one more card. And Five of Wands. Okay. Interesting. So what I'm getting is like, for some of us, we're sort of limiting ourselves to what we think is possible as opposed to manifesting the impossible. Like, one of the things I always find interesting about this card is that, like, she has like the globe here and this picture of this car, and she's looking out this window like, oh, like, what if I could go, you know, here? But she's sort of keeping herself stuck inside, right? And so for some of us, getting out of this, getting outside and really exploring and seeing the possibility of that, as opposed to, you know, saying that it's not for you, or saying that, you know, this isn't something that's possible. Anything is possible, right? For some of us, finding that balance of give and take is sort of getting in the way. Like, for some of us, and this was me, I will admit, at some point, of like putting in too much work and not allowing, like not seeing things come to fruition and just constantly doing, like that can put us in this state of imbalance. And so Spirit is saying, like, that's something we need to work on. And then for others, it could be a situation where, and this message just came to me, of like shadow work, right? Doing some work around the things that maybe we're trying to avoid, or the things that we're trying to hide from, and try to meld them, try to find some balance. Like, without light there, without darkness, there would be no light, right? And so just trying to figure out how to integrate those things. All right. With this Page of Swords, definitely see like just taking some action, just getting started, like, and having a sense of excitement as it relates to going forward. For some people, if you're moving forward sort of begrudgingly or hesitantly, like, that's not the energy that's going to serve you, right? You really have to embrace, you know, all of this fiery energy that we have here, which we have basically all wands, which tells me that it's really about taking the right action. And then with this Five of Wands, it's this mindset of like having to compete with others to get what you want. And the universe is abundant. Like, there is no such thing as lack. Lack is really a mentality. And the more that we stay in this energy of like, I have to do this because this person can get it, or I have to, like, you know, skip over that person, like it's a rat race. Like, that's what this card makes me think of, like a rat race. Like, if we keep that rat race mentality, then that's where we're gonna stay, right? And so that's something that we need to let go of, cut those strings. Like, it's not about competing with anyone. If anything, we should be supporting each other. If anything, we should be doing something to help the next person behind us. And that's where this Hierophant card, I feel like, really comes into play, right? Okay, interesting. So let's see, what do we need to work on surrendering? I think I want to pull a timing card, and I'll do a yes or no question. So as I shuffle these cards, I want you to think about a question, something that would be helpful for you to know, and, you know, preferably somewhere in like the yes or no category. And what I will do is pull from my angel answer deck, and whatever the answer is that comes out, that's the answer to your question. Okay, so start to think about what you want that question to be. But yeah, there's some things we need to detach from in order to move forward, in order to be in this happy place of sunshine. But it requires us to take a risk, and to maybe even do some healing as it relates to taking the risk. Because one of the things that I just noticed is that, like, in the Fool card, she's holding the amethyst in her hand, and so it's like, it's not just about healing, it's not just about taking the risk. And again, if you're doing so begrudgingly, like, that's not going to work. If anything, it's like saying, like, yes, I fully surrender, yes, I'm ready to take this new thing on, and just falling backwards. So it's funny, like, earlier today, I actually did this on my bed, where I was just like, I'm just gonna fall back, wee, and I fell on the bed, and I, like, bounced, and it was funny, and I had a nice little laugh. So so this made me think of that, just learning to surrender. All right, so let's see. All right, surrender to creativity. Let your imagination soar. Stay open to all creative ideas about how to pursue a dream or solve a problem. So, as I was saying earlier, just when I was talking about, like, the lack mentality, like, anything is possible. And so you just got to stay open to receiving the right answers from your intuition that will guide you forward. And one of the things that, I forgot to mention, one of the other things related to why I felt like this was Spirit Week was I was taking this, like, 3-week online course, but it's not like your traditional kind of course. But anyway, it was with Sonia Croquette, which, if you're familiar with her, she has, like, tons of books on intuition and on, like, trusting your vibes. Actually, I think that's the name of her most recent book. And, like, she has, like, 20 something different books related to, like, the spiritual realm and intuition. And so I did this 3-week class series with her through a program that I have, and I literally just finished it on Thursday. And so it was sort of like everything coming together. It was like this week was the culmination. And one of the things that she said, and that's what the creativity made me think of it, is that creativity is the gateway to intuition. And play is the gateway to creativity. And so the more play that we can engage in, the more fun that we can have, the more we can open ourselves up to our intuition. And so it's through our creativity that we're able to find the downloads and answers from Spirit. So do something fun. Have fun. Follow your bliss. It's funny how all of this is coming together. But, that's how Spirit is sometimes, right? All right. Surrender unhealthy relationships. Okay. Let go of relationships that don't serve you, including unavailable or toxic people. You deserve to be treasured by others and to be surrounded by positive people. All right, so for some of us, these strings may be other people. And so if that resonates with you, then perhaps there's someone in your life that, perhaps you need to walk away from. And it's not even a situation where you have to, like, let's say if it's a family member, right? You don't want to necessarily, like, I've disowned this family member. Like, it doesn't have to be dramatic or anything, but it could be a situation where you need to put up boundaries and just say, look, I'm not available for you at this time, or I'm not available to do these things for you anymore. I'm choosing myself. I'm choosing to be happy. I'm choosing to prioritize myself. And, if they have an issue with that, then too bad. All right, so the other card that jumped out was surrender your attachment to results. Ooh, I feel like this one was for me. The formula for success is to do all you can to make things happen. Then let go of results. Holding on too tightly to a desired outcome can sabotage it. So, again, I felt like that was for me, but I'm sure other people can resonate with that, where, let's say if you are in this energy of, like, manifesting something, creating something, taking some really great action forward, if it doesn't quite go the way that we expect it to, then just being okay with that, just accepting it, being like, all right, well, as long as we continue to move forward. And going back to this temperance card of like, if it seems like it's not going the way that we thought it should or the way that we want it to, that is a great place to really take a step back and say like, okay, am I doing too much? What would happen if I just stayed still, right? What would happen if I just sat there and let it unfold? And, you know, sometimes when we're able to do that, it can turn out much better than we could have even imagined. One example that comes to mind is something that happened fairly recently, like a few months ago. So I booked a trip to go home for my sort of graduation. Like once I graduated with my doctorate, it was 2020. There were no graduations in 2020, and so I never really got to celebrate it. But they had an opportunity where we would have like this hooding ceremony where they would actually place like your hood when you get your doctorate, right? And so they were finally having it in 2022, and I was excited. And so I booked a trip home, and I never got to make it to my hooding ceremony because I lost some family members, and I went home at the exact time that I needed to, because had I not booked that trip, it would have been very expensive for me to get home in the time that I needed to. And so I just had to surrender to, you know what, this is the situation. Like, did I want to go to my hooding ceremony? Absolutely. But that didn't happen. But at least I got to be home and I got to spend time with family so that we can mourn the loss of our loved ones. So we may not necessarily understand how it all works, but you know, we just have to go with it. I will say one really positive, so obviously being home was really good, but something that I was not expecting, and this is totally the universe working in my favor, right? So when I initially booked the flight, I was leaving from a specific airport, which the idea was that I would be in Philadelphia, and so on the way back to New York, we'd stop in Newark, drop me off, and be able to fly home to California, right? But with everything happening, never made it to Philadelphia. Nonetheless, I still had this ticket, and I was like, do I cancel the ticket? Like, what should I do? And so on the day that I was sort of going back and forth, I got an email from the airline saying, hey, there's a big storm coming. We anticipate some delays. Would you like to reschedule your flight? And I said, yes, I would definitely like to reschedule my flight. And so I rescheduled it for the following week, which worked out perfectly because it was after all of the funeral arrangements. And not only did that work out, but I had a much better seat than if I had taken the original flight. And so, you know, with my new seat, I had more space, you know, comfier chairs. They gave us wine and food. Like, it was amazing. And so sometimes we don't necessarily know how it's all going to play out, but we just have to go with it. So that's my crazy long-winded story. But I think it definitely says a lot about like just how the universe can work sometimes, right? Because in my case, two things really worked out. Like, one, I was able to get home and be with my family during a time of need and didn't have to worry about the stress of having to buy like an extremely expensive ticket back home. But then I also had the added benefit of having a comfier flight coming back to California. So everything works out the way that it's supposed to, right? And so sometimes we just have to accept that and move on. All right, this card really wants to jump out. Surrender to your soul's path. I feel like this is very fitting for this week as well. Your life's journey has been perfectly designed for your soul's growth. Embrace every lesson and every moment. So what was I just saying about everything happens for a reason? And so we just have to learn to embrace it and understand that there may be something bigger than we could have imagined, but we just sort of have to get through this unknown territory and you know, navigate things, even if it's a little dark, even if we can't necessarily see everywhere, like every step, just taking one step and then one step and then one step, as opposed to having this expectation of having the entire path lit up for us to move forward. I've just learned that that's not how the universe works. I don't know, you gotta take it up with her. All right, so let me get one more card, please. Thank you. Surrender your fear of intimacy. You are ready to let love in. Compassionately identify and begin to release any patterns that stop you from opening your heart. And so even though this card is referring to like with the picture, like it's almost like a love type of intimacy, but I could also see it as intimacy within ourselves, right? And it just reminds me of on Instagram, I have this journal series called Into Me I See, which is intimacy, right? And the premise is to do some journaling around these different questions. And so I try to put out a post at least once a month with some different questions on like things that relate to us. And so I think the last one that I did was like, what do you find fun, or what do you categorize as fun, or how do you find your joy, like something in that realm. I think that was the last one. I know I definitely put that one out there at some point, but I'm not completely sure if that's the last one. Nonetheless, if you're interested, I will put a link to that particular post in the description box for you to check it out. But yeah, like intimacy doesn't necessarily have to be with another person. It could be just having that sense of intimacy within ourselves and not being afraid of what it is that we truly want. Not being afraid of asking for what we really want, like whether we're asking another person or asking the universe, like just not holding ourselves back from what we truly desire. And so that's the feeling I'm getting with that card. Okay, interesting. All right, so I'm going to pull a, let me pull a timing card first, and then I'll pull a yes or no card. So just getting a sense for like, when do we need to sort of work through these blocks? When do we need to get things going to get us on our path? I sort of feel like it's happening now for many of us, but let's, get a sense for like, when do we really need to get into high gear? All right, and one more. A year from now. Okay, interesting. Oh, it's underneath. All right, so yeah, so within a few months to a year, within a few months. So over the next 12 months, right, and with the sun card representing like a year around the sun, just using this next year as the springboard for getting you to where you want to truly be, right? So continuing to move forward, continue to navigate by the stars, even if you don't know where you're going, even if it seems a little bit scary because you're in unknown territory. Like, you have to go forward. You have to direct your energy into the things that you really, really want, and don't give into like the fear that you have, or don't give into the doubt you may have about whether or not any of this is possible. It is possible. You may not be able to see it now, but it is possible. So just using this next year as an opportunity to stretch yourself and see, like, try something different. See what happens when you do. And, if it works out, great. Keep doing it. Either way, you got to keep moving forward. Okay? All right. So think of your yes or no question. Like, bring it up in your head right now. All right, and so the answer to your question is reconsider. All right, so whatever it was that you were thinking about, you need to reconsider. If it was like a certain idea or a plan that you were unsure about whether or not you should go forward, you may need to do some redirecting. And I feel like with the very first card that came out with impasse, redirect your energy, like I'm getting like it's like, yes, but with some tweaks. Like, that's what comes to mind for me. And as I look under, choose a different direction. So, or choose a new direction. So yeah, there's some things that need to be worked out first before you can move forward. Okay, so definitely something for you to think about. All right, so let's close out this reading with one of these lovely cards from the Universe Has My Back deck. And, you know, see what Spirit has for us in terms of an affirmation. And the card tried to jump in. All right, last one. Okay. Oops, please go back. That slipped out of my hands. But yeah, I hope that this reading was helpful to you. I hope that, you know, you got something really powerful out of it. I mean, with all of the major arcana cards that came out, like, and more came out as we got some clarity. Like, let me just double check. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 major arcana cards, a bunch of wands, 1 cup, 2 pentacles. So it's really about taking the right action, right? These wands is about action, moving forward, that fiery, like, you know, go kind of energy. And so you need to take some action, if nothing else. But it has to be the right action. It has to be inspired action, like something that you actually want, something that you actually desire, not something that you think you're supposed to do or that you should do. Do what you really want. Like, sometimes I'll think about, like, dinner time, you know, if I'm in the mood for something particular, I may be thinking like, oh, I should get this salad because, you know, I haven't really had a lot of greens today. And then I have to stop myself and say, like, no, if I want to eat a Beyond Burger, I'm going to eat a Beyond Burger. Like, it's okay. I can have a salad later. And so just understand that it's okay. You know, maybe you can do the other thing later. For now, just do what you feel is right for you. Do what makes you happy. Do the thing that's going to bring you more joy. Okay? All right. I think we're done shuffling here. Through prayer and meditation, I create a ripple effect of peace in the world. I like that. So perhaps doing some meditation to get those downloads, to get that information, using that as an opportunity to receive, like, messages on what is that next step. Okay. Nope, don't want to drop those. Just want to put one more. All right, you. My fearless freedom lights up the world. Doesn't this look a lot like this? So, learning to be fearless, learning to use your light. Ooh, going back to this Temperance card, using your light to bring some balance to the world, and then sharing it with others as a teacher here with the Hierophant. Okay, so that is our mission going forward. So again, I hope this reading was helpful. If so, please be sure to like this reading and share it with others if you think that will be helpful for them, and also subscribe to my channel and enjoy the rest of your weekend. All right, see ya.